Hello everybody, today I'm going to be doing a rundown over what has been released so far for Season 2 of Diablo 4. We do have the vampiric powers released in this patch. This was released by Blizzard about 3 days ago, I believe, so I've already skimmed over this, but let's just go ahead and go over exactly what we're going to get to see in Season 2. So obviously we're going to have a quest line. Cool, nothing really too crazy about that. So now going into the vampiric powers. This is going to be the season theme. If you haven't seen this, it's pretty simple. The way it's going to work is you have 5 slots. You can use any combination, I believe, of the 5. But in order to activate your vampiric power, you're going to have these packs, which you get from gear, and you're going to have enough of these in order for whatever it is, like 2, 2, and 2. So you need 2, 2, and 2 of each of these, right? Now the cool thing is they're actually giving you a way to customize your packed armor. So you can add packs of ferocity to helm, etc., etc. And then cleansing acid, remove all packs present on a piece of armor. So it does not look like you are going to have to solely get these from drops, which is good. Because I think that with the fact you need like 3 different things, that's like adding 3 different affixes on top of all the affixes you already need to get, right? So yeah, I really wouldn't care for this if this wasn't the case. But this is the case, so it's not too bad. So now let's go and go over the vampiric power. So the first thing I want to talk about is vampiric curse. Killing an enemy affected by your vampiric curse stores their soul. Casting a defensive, macabre, or agility skill will unleash stored souls to attack nearby enemies. You can hold to 8 souls. This is pretty cool. I don't know if this is like an instant thing, and I don't necessarily know how much damage it does, but I do like the idea of this. I think it's pretty cool. You know, you get to put a vampiric curse on them, and it says the below values reflect each vampiric power at their max level of 3, so these are all going to be lower depending on the level, because you do level up the glyphs as well. But this is pretty cool because I don't know how long the souls last. I'm kind of hoping that the souls stay around for a little while and they do multiple attacks, because then that would have like a really cool vampiric zoo druid build idea. That would be pretty fun to play. So next, we have Anticipation. So this one's really cool because your ultimate skills gain 20% cooldown reduction. And really, ultimate skills in general don't have a crazy amount of multipliers. At least I know on the Druid that's the case. I guess I can't speak for the other classes, but I know on Druid, like Lacerate has nothing, right? So Cataclysm doesn't really have anything that's going to increase its damage by too much. So this is actually pretty sweet, and is going to make, I think, Lacerate, Cataclysm just much more playable this season. I think some of the unused ults, you know, I mean, don't get me wrong, until we see the class changes, Wernado, like Druid, just in terms of speaking in Druid, is still probably going to be the top build, right? So full disclosure, it's not going to like dethrone that. That's not what I'm saying. But if you're like me and you don't just play whatever the best build is and you just play whatever is fun, this is going to make it much easier for you to actually play these and actually be able to do something with it. So I think this is really good. And I also think for other classes like Rogue, you know how you have like the Death Trap Flurry Rogue? This is really good. This is really good for that. So very, very, very fun. So the next thing, now this is one of the ones that I like because I like to play the companion builds. If you follow me for any amount of time, you know I'm a masochist and I play companion builds. So Coven's Fangs, your Conjuration, Companion, Minion, and Bat Familiar attacks deal 52% increased damage to crowd-controlled enemies. Lucky hit, your Conjuration, Companions, and Bat Familiar have up to a 30% chance to inflict Vampiric Curse when hitting enemies. So this is sweet because we're going to be losing the Barber, right? The Barber was 14% times 4, so whatever that comes out to be, like 52, or would it be 52? It's like 52 or 56%. So we're losing that multiplicative damage buff that we were getting. And in turn, we're actually getting this, plus a way to get the Vampiric Curse. So this kind of replaces the Barber in a way. However, we aren't going to have that explosion, obviously, that the Barber has from the first season theme. So that's going to be a little bit of a nerf. But the fact that we do have that, we're still getting an increase to our companions is nice. Like, I like that. And Bat Familiar. So I'll show you about this one in a little bit, but this is another like thing you could potentially add to like the Zoo Druid build. That would be pretty fun. I don't know if it'd be good, but it'd be fun. So moving right along, Domination, you deal 24% increased damage to enemies who are stunned, immobilized, frozen, or feared. If they're also injured, not an elite, they're instantly killed. This is pretty good because, you know, obviously we use things like Poison Creeper and stuff like that in my builds. So I think this will be pretty sweet just because you can deal, it's just another damage increase for everything, so I like that. Feed the Coven, right? So this is cool. This is another companion minion bat familiar. Attacks up to a 60% chance to restore 10 primary resource to you and increase your damage by 10% for 4 seconds. So now, I don't think this is very good in Zoo Druid because you don't run a core skill, but in the Shred Druid, like kind of like the Wolf Pack Druid, I think this actually has potential to be pretty decent because, hey, you know, you have all your wolves out, they're attacking, restoring resource for you to shred. It's going to give you a nice like way to regenerate resource. You know, so that's pretty cool. And the wolves also have a pretty high lucky hit coefficient, so like this should be happening pretty often. So I actually like this one specifically for like the Wolfpack Druid builds. So yeah, Hectic, and I mean obviously I think this is gonna be really good for Necro and stuff like that, like Minion Necro and stuff like that. Like obviously these are all good for like Necromancer too as well. So that's pretty cool. And I guess Conjuration. And I guess Conjuration Sorcerer as well. So, Hectic, for every 5 basic skills you cast, one of your active cooldowns is reduced by 2 seconds. So this is actually cool. So the reason why I like this, or I guess kind of the reason why I like this, is if you run something like Crone Staff on the Druid, like, oh my god, like, I don't know exactly what I would do with this yet, but I feel like this is amazing with Crone Staff on the Druid. You know, for every 5 basic skills where you're casting 2 every single time you cast Claw. So like you'd be proccing this so much. Like so much. That's pretty sweet. So, oh, I like this one too. I think this one's pretty cool. Like notice that like literally all of these have been pretty solid so far. Like these are all like really good in their own way. Right? Maybe not necessarily like, you know, I think this right here, like this right here is probably going to be taken by minion builds. Obviously, there are some things where it's going to be like, yeah, you have to take this because of X and X reason. But yeah, then you have like you know, you have like your multiplicative damage increases that people are just going to want to take. But at the same time, you have ones like this where it's like, you know, I guess kind of situational. So I think that's pretty cool. All these seem pretty good and pretty useful in some way, shape, or form so far. So your attacks deal 80% of your maximum life is physical damage to nearby enemies. Okay, so I actually really like this one, but specifically for Bloodlance Necro, because you build a lot of max life on Bloodlance Necro. So like for those builds where you inherently have a ton of life, and even for Zoo Druid, right? Like we stack a ton of life in our like Paragon and stuff. Like I can get up to like 20%. You know, I think this is actually pretty interesting. Now, I don't know how much damage this is really going to do, like how it's going to multiply out and stuff like that. So it could be pretty useless overall. Like higher up, like when you get into higher tiers, this could potentially just be useless. But I still think it's a cool, like it's an interesting idea, right? And I'm also wondering, like, you know, if minions are going to affect this, yada yada. I don't know. This can only occur once every 4 seconds, so that's kind of a limiter on it, which kind of sucks, but whatever. You heal for 1% of your maximum life for each enemy damage this way. So I don't know. This one's probably pretty good early on, but I don't know, maybe not that great later on. Anyways, so hitting enemies with direct damage infects them with pox. Inflicting pox 8 times on an enemy expunges their infection, dealing 70% poison damage. Okay. So, I mean, that's kind of interesting. Not too bad. I mean, not too bad, I guess. Not like anything crazy good. And I mean, the fact you have to do it 8 times is but I don't know. I'll have to mess around with that. So Thorns have a 10% chance to deal 300% increased damage and chill enemies for 8%. So I think for Barbarians, since they're the only one that really has a Thorns build, this could be pretty good. You know, it could make Thorns build a lot better. But overall, I think this one's nothing crazy. So Prey on the Weak, you deal 16% increased damage to vulnerable enemies. Enemies are vulnerable while affected by your Vampiric Curse from your Vampiric Power. This is pretty cool because if you do take one of these ones that inflict the Vampiric Curse, this gives you access to vulnerable, so things like Sorcerer and stuff like that is pretty interesting. I think this one, you're probably going to see this one taken a lot across a lot of classes, because I mean, if it's multiplicative, I mean, it's just a huge damage buff, like, to vulnerable, something you're already trying to apply, so that's pretty cool. Granted, that could change, because they are going to be changing crit and vulnerable, by the way. They haven't released how they're going to do it yet, but they're going to be doing that. So Rampart, after not moving for 3 seconds, you gain a barrier for 40% of your max life. I don't like this. I don't really like this one. It's just awkward after not moving for 3 seconds. Like, I guess if you're playing a build that standstills and channels, but I don't think this one's going to be used by a whole lot of people. Anyway, so Ravenous, up to a 20% chance to increase your attack speed by 40% of your total movement speed. I mean, that's not bad. I could see something using that. Like, I mean, if you stack movement speed or you have a really fast build, I mean, I think that could be pretty good. I actually think this one could maybe be really good for the Wernado, because when you go into direwolf form, you get a ton of move speed. So yeah, yeah, this would just be, it would give you a ton of attack speed, and that's kind of what the Wernado build is. It's a really high DPS build. So I think, yeah, I think that's actually pretty good for that. But it all just kind of depends on the build you're playing. So you gain 1% damage reduction for each 2% life you're missing. This is probably something most people are going to build, I feel like, because this just seems pretty solid. It's just damage reduction for each 2% life you're missing. Now granted, I don't know how it's going to work. Like, if you get one shot, do you like still get the damage reduction or what? But I think this is cool, because we are going to be losing the 18% damage reduction from I forget what it's called, like the Heart of Revenge or whatever. So we have to keep that in mind in builds going forward. When you kill an enemy, fortify for 6% of your base life. While you have more fortify than half your maximum life, you gain 8% crit chance. If you, this is okay, but it does base life, not max life, right? So depending on what your base life is, this could potentially not be that great. I know, at least with like a Zoo Druid, since we run Earthen Bulwark and stuff like that in there, it's not really that useful because we're going to be fortified already, but I don't know, somebody might be able to make use of that, but it's not too great. When struck, you have a 14% chance to fear nearby enemies and slow them by 80% for 2 seconds. You are guaranteed to critically strike enemies who are feared. I mean, that's kind of interesting. It says when struck, though, so I don't know. It feels like it might be kind of hard for that. Casting skills heal you for 3% life. Double this bonus while below 50% life. Not bad. I think this one's honestly not that bad. It's like, you know, you just cast skills, you get 3% life. This one seems pretty good, actually. I think this one and then Resilience are probably going to be like one of the better defensive ones. So now let's get into the major ones. So first off, we have a Cursed Touch, up to a 44% chance to inflict Vampiric Curse on enemies. Enemies with Vampiric Curse have a 15% chance to spread it to other surrounding enemies, and Cursed Souls deal 200% increased damage. So the whole soul thing that you get from the Vampiric Curse gets increased by 200%. That's pretty sweet. You know, depending on how it's going to go, I think this might be ran at least in a Zoo Druid build, because there just might not be any other like solid options to run over it. So I think this is pretty interesting. Definitely something I'm going to look at just to kind of see how much damage a Cursed Souls even do, because I just don't know. While channeling a skill, you form a pool of blood beneath you. While channeling a skill in the pool, channeled skills deal 40% increased damage, and you gain 30% damage reduction. This is actually pretty cool. So I like this because it's good for like Lightning Storm. Like, you know, like the Lightning Storm Druid, I think is going to become even better. Like, it was already pretty good. I think it's going to become even better now, because you have just you actually have a multiplicative damage buff for your Lightning Storm. Or, well, I guess I don't know if it's multiplicative yet, but I'm assuming it is, because it's only 40%. Generally speaking, the big ones are additive. And if they're multiplicative and they're big, it's because the base damage of whatever they're multiplying is low. So, and if they are like, if it's like a smaller number, it's multiplicative if like the base damage is already high. So, yeah, I think that's really good. Blood Boil. When your core skills overpower an enemy, you spawn 3 volatile blood drops. Collecting a volatile blood drop causes it to explode, dealing 60% physical damage around you every 20 seconds. Your next skill is guaranteed to overpower. I mean, pretty solid for like blood necros. I think blood necro is going to be kind of funny to play this season. I don't know if it'll be good, but it'll at least have some interesting things that are going to make it more fun. So, not too bad. Call Familiar. Casting a mastery, weapon, or macabre or imbuement skills calls a bat ally to attack nearby enemies, dealing 80% physical damage with a 30% chance to stun. So this is cool, but the issue that I have with this, with putting the bat into a build, at least for like a Zoo Druid, is you have to use a Wrath skill. So that means you pretty much have to use like Hurricane or something. And I don't know. Like it's just, I don't know if it's really all that great. If it's really all that great to use that. So unfortunately, but so I don't really know if I'm gonna end up using this, and I also don't know how much damage, if like the damage is really gonna be all that crazy. I guess we'll find out. But Flowing Veins, you deal 60% increased damage over time to enemies that are moving or affected by a vampiric curse. This is pretty good for, you know, the Poison Shred Druid. Again, the whole Wolfpack Druid idea. Buff by this, because, you know, you dealing 60% increased damage over time to enemies is going to increase your Poison Creeper damage and stuff like that. So, pretty solid. And then when you factor in like Blurred Beast takes all your damage over time and then puts it all into your shred, you're going to be hitting like a truck. Poison Shred Druid looking pretty solid. Yeah. Anyway, Metamorphosis. When you evade, you turn into a cloud of bats, becoming unstoppable. Enemies along your path take 160% physical damage and are inflicted with vampiric curse. I mean, that's not bad. If you struggle to have access to unstoppable, this is pretty good because it just says when you evade. Like when you evade. So anytime you evade, this happens. That's pretty good. It doesn't have a cooldown or anything like that on it. Now, this one. This is probably the main one I want to put into the Zoo Druid build. At least if I'm looking at it from that perspective. Hitting an enemy with a basic skill grants you 4% attack speed for 10 seconds, stacking up to 5 times. Upon reaching max stacks, you enter a Vampiric Blood Rage, gaining 160% basic skill damage. Now, if this is multiplicative, this is so good. Like, and it also gives you movement speed, so you get attack speed, you get basic skill damage, and movement speed, right? This is a Crone Staff like dream. Like any Crone Staff build is going to be so crazy with this. This is so good for the Crone Staff, like insane, right? So yeah, I'm like, this is gonna probably end up being the #1 thing that I put into any Crone Staff, or I guess any Crone Staff companion build that I do, or just any Crone Staff build in general, even if you just do like Stormclaw or whatever, you know? Okay, so that is really it for the vampiric powers. So going on, reap the Hunter's Acclaim from the Blood Harvest event. So home to the highest chance for receiving potent blood and packed armor drops is the Blood Harvest seasonal event. With a wave of this hand, the Dark Master has dispatched cunning bloodseekers with armies of vampires to conquest the dry steppes. So it looks like there's just a new special event that's going to give you potent blood as well as packed armor, so it'll give you a reason to do overworld stuff, which is pretty cool. Crush the Dark Master's army in new events. Yeah, so they're just going to have a bunch of new events. I like that. Now, this is awesome. Awesome. I love this because I didn't have the time to try to conquer Uber Lilith yet, since I haven't had the time to really just sit down and prog that. But I think one of my main goals this season is going to be to take down every single Uber boss with a companion druid build, whether it be Zoo Druid, whether it be like a wolf pack, because I have a shred companion build that I think is going to end up being pretty good this season. I also think Zoo Druid might not be too bad this season, but still not anything crazy, but it'll still be alright. So below is a list of bosses and the requirements to encounter them. Gregor the Galvanic Saint, World Tier 3 and 4. You must gather enough living steel from the Tortured Offering and Hell Tides, in addition to unique items that can only drop from Gregor. You also have a chance to receive the Demon Binder mount armor. So there are going to be certain unique items that we have not seen. The unique items are going to be added yet, but when we look to see, like, whenever they do release what they are, this is going to be specifically from this guy, so it's going to be very, very interesting to kill him. Hopefully the unique items are good, but after you kill this guy, it's going to give you the stuff to do Echo of Varshan. So Varshan is still in the game, World Tier 3 and 4. Defeat grotesque debtors during the Whispers. Oh, never mind. I think I had this backwards. So defeat grotesque debtors during Whispers of the Dead for a chance to receive parts of Varshan's body. The Tree of Whispers collections gained from turning a Grim Fairy guarantees a part of Varshan's body. So doing Grim Favors is going to be good to fight Varshan. Once you have enough parts, including a Malignant Heart, if you're playing on World Tier 4, you can summon Varshan. The Flesh Weld Rod Trophy has a chance to drop from this boss in addition to unique items that can only drop from Varshan. So it looks like there might be quite a few unique items being added, because I mean, like, they're saying they're like, they have like this multiple. They keep saying unique items, plural, right? So like what, like 3 from, maybe there's like 1. Oh man, how many are they gonna add? Like that's it makes me wonder because how many their unique items are gonna add. Next we have the Beast in the Ice. This one's pretty cool. Gather distilled fear while completing tier 30 or higher nightmare dungeon. After you have enough, visit the occultist and craft a glacial fissure. Activate it and you can fight the Beast in the Ice. The Skull Torch and the Fell Steel Mount trophies can drop in addition to unique items exclusive to it. So again, more unique. So it makes me wonder if they're going to make like a unique for each class. Like how many unique items are about to be added to the game? It makes me wonder. Dark Master, World Tier 4. Defeat a world boss on World Tier 4 or complete a Legion event. From these activities, you'll acquire exquisite blood. Once you have enough, you'll be able to summon the Dark Master. The Diadem of the Ancient Helm cosmetic can potentially drop from this boss in addition to unique items exclusive to it. So what is it when they say unique item? Do they mean like a unique, or do they mean something else, right? Like I don't know. But anyway, so Echo of Duriel. So defeat both Gregor the Galvanic State and Varshan in World Tier 4. Okay, yeah. So so you have to do both of them, right? And it gives you 2 different materials, and then once you do it, you can fight Duriel, and Duriel has a chance to drop uber unique items. And they have said that it is not going, it will be, while it is still going to be uncommon to get them, you will most likely know people that have uber uniques. I repeat, you will most likely know people that have uber uniques. That was a dev comment. I forget where it was posted from, but I did go check it. But yeah, so keep that in mind. So that means that uber uniques are going to be a thing this season. So we have to keep that in mind. It's going to be really interesting. Like this season looks pretty good. Okay. Anyway, so earn rewards with the season journey and battle pass. I really don't care about the battle pass stuff. Acquire fabled threads from Tajal's shop. Seasons in your stashed items. Okay, so I don't know what Tajal's shop is, but I don't know if this just looks like shop stuff. I don't really care about the microtransaction stuff. So seasons in your stashed items. Now, this one's pretty cool. So I can tell you this. We're going to be getting a gym tab. We're going to be getting, I think, more stash tabs. We're also going to be getting like easier ways to organize things. And as you go up in the world tiers, things are going to start dropping differently. So, for example, if you're in World Tier 4, sacred items no longer are going to drop. Sacred and normal items are just going to drop as materials, right? So the only items that are actually going to drop are going to be in, ancestral items, right? So you're not going to need to worry about actually having to go and like break all those down. Now, I will say this, that does kind of suck a little bit because it's going to reduce your gold income because you're not going to be able to sell all of those sacreds. So I don't know if they're going to do something to offset that, but yeah, so not too bad. But yeah, they're pretty much just making it to where lesser gear that you would just never need once you get to a certain point. I don't remember exactly if it's like the moment you get into World Tier 4 or if it's when you hit a certain level where you're just really unlikely to need sacred gear. But yeah, the idea is just, well, you're in World Tier 4, you don't need sacred gear anymore, so we're not going to make you like have to go and do that, so your like inventory will be way more manageable. So, one of Hell's gifts will be returning. Okay. Oh god, gross. Gross. Yeah. But anyways, so yeah, I think that's going to do it. I mean, overall, I'm pretty excited for this. You know, I like that there's going to be an end game. There's going to be things to strive for. Definitely things to do. Definitely going to look forward to actually being able to get uber uniques and stuff like that. But yeah, so this is so far just kind of like their overview thing. But as more information gets released, I will keep updating you. But yeah, pretty cool stuff, guys. Pretty cool stuff. Pretty excited. Anyways, thanks for watching, guys. Like, subscribe if you want to see more, and I'll see you next time. Thanks.